Talk about social media. You guys are on Facebook. You have your own Jonas and the Massive Attraction TV channel on YouTube, which I've checked out many times.
Massive Attraction TV.
Tell me about how that works with the band. And I remember when you were doing your first radio tour and you landed in, I think it was Victoria.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Hey, we're in Victoria." Holy crap!
Yeah,
it was cool to see you guys and see a band in, a band, I guess you could say, in your infancy with the success you guys have had, to be that excited.
Oh, for sure. And it's great because, with social media being such a broad platform and such an instantaneous platform, I mean, you literally, we're recording things, and I mean, I'm a bit of a gadget guy. I like my gadgets, but I haven't really used social media before in that way. And we were so excited that we were like, man, I can videotape myself on the BlackBerry. We can talk to our fans and upload it, and everybody in the world can see it in 30 seconds. How cool is that?
They knew that we missed a flight.
Well, yeah, that's it. And it's so funny because you're doing that stuff and you're sending it out, and you kind of forget. And then you're getting emails, and everybody seems to know about how you missed the flight, or that we got lost, or that kind of stuff. But it just goes to show how powerful it is. And I think also people expect now to have a little bit of an insight into your personal life, into the behind the scenes, because everything's so accessible. When you don't do it, people are like, "Well, bro, why don't I know what it's like backstage?
Yeah.
Why don't?" And so when you have that kind of communication with your audience, it bonds a different kind of relationship. But I think a good relationship with your fan base is exactly what any band needs, right?
I think everyone's so hungry too, because there's always this dark curtain that no one can get behind, and unless you're a hot girl banging the band, you're not going to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And you could be the biggest fan in the world; it doesn't matter. So I think just fans of music in general are just. They want to know behind the scenes. I'm a big Howard Stern fan. He's the reason I got into radio, and anytime they do behind the scenes talk or behind the scenes video, I'm just like glued.
Yeah, right.
Or any band for that matter.
Especially a guy like Howard Stern, where you know him as his voice. He's a voice. He's a booming voice, and then all of a sudden you get a chance to see some video that goes with that voice. It really draws you in.
Yeah.
And you're probably right that there's a relationship between that and singers and guitar players and drummers, bassists.
Totally.
If you're a fan of drums and you're hearing those drums on your favorite song, and then you get to see the show, it's one thing. He's over there.
Yeah.
But if you get to see a close-up video of him,
I want to see what the drummer's doing.
I want to see what the drummer's doing. I want to see his style. I want to see how his foot works on the kick.
It's a bit of a two-sided coin too, though, because I mean, there's a lot less mystique in rock and roll these days. But the other side of the coin is you get the insight, with these medias, that you can see what happens behind the scenes, and it's all cool. Just
you're right about the lack of mystique, though. There certainly is sometimes.
Well, man, I remember buying Led Zeppelin 4 on LP, and the way it smelled when I pulled that brown sleeve out, and it's just like there was no pictures of the band, It's I was going by imagining, Jimmy and the boys recording it, and then years later, they put out It Might Get Loud, and then you see Jimmy talking about in what was it, Headley Grange, where they recorded it, and he showed, well, this is where we had the drums, and this is why it sounded like that. Do you hear that? He's like, you hear it bouncing off the ceiling, It's like, we only imagine that stuff,
right? Yeah, exactly. And that's 30 years later, 40 years later, when now, as soon as the album comes out, there's got to be some live footage that came with it. There's behind the scenes how the band made the album.
Well, people almost expect it now.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I bought all those magazines, from Circus, Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
I wanted to see Pearl Jam, Soundgarden. I mean, what's happening in their life, how they dress. I mean, because I was a fan. So, but now you can see it right away.
Yeah.
It's so weird like that, isn't it? Because, I mean, we grew up with magazines, and it was a monthly, you only get one chance a month to find out what your favorite band's doing. And now it's like daily updates on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. And
I mean, you know what Eddie Vedder's having for breakfast because he's twittering it to you. I mean, come on.
Do you think it's too much, though? Do you think there should be that? Because, I mean, it's almost a letdown sometimes. I've been backstage with bands that I've loved, and I'm like, really? This is kind of lame.
You tell us and we'll do it.
What it is, I mean, we still try to maintain a little bit of distance. I mean, I have a Facebook page, but as far as our updates and our Twittering list, and I don't go into details about our day. Sometimes You know, if we have a show or if we have a cool interview coming up or something, you know, we'll let people know. But overkill is overkill. I mean, at one point, you know, if you just keep twittering all the time, or you're sending Facebook messages, or you're blast emailing your fans, they become blind to it because it's just overexposure. So to be able to find that fine balance between giving, you know, the fan base what they want and still maintaining a little bit of mystique, I guess, will forever be the battle from this day on.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, when Big Slice starts climbing up that chart, and you're like, holy crap. What was that like for you guys?
It's funny because it was. I mean, obviously it feels great.
Yeah.
But it was the strangest phenomenon, that song, because it came out in July. We put it out 3 months previous to the album. Well, 2 and change to the release of the album.
But it really started getting popular around December.
Yeah, and that was the thing, is that, you know, in Quebec, because we have a pretty decent following in Quebec, we you know, we're hoping that local radio would get behind it. They did get behind it. They jumped on it pretty quick in July. And of course, you're looking at the charts, and because your local radio is supporting it, but the rest of the country wasn't yet, we were in the top 100-ish, but it wasn't really moving a lot in there. And then it came up to around 40 and then dropped down. And then come September, October, we released the album, and Corey and I decided, you know, behind the idea of my management, that we should come out west and just meet some radio. Just come and bring a guitar and, you know, throw it in the back of a car. Yeah. And we did that. We flew out here, and Corey and I went from station to station, and the stations that weren't playing us, we just went to shake their hands and say hi. You know, we're doing it like roots stuff, right? Guerrilla war tactics.
That's how you have to do it nowadays. And a lot of bands don't want to push the pavement. No. You know, a lot of them just are like, well, I have a MySpace, isn't that enough?
No, well, exactly.
It's not.
No. And I mean, there's, you know, the personal relationship is still the most, you know, important relationship you can have. The face-to-face. And so the stations, you know, that weren't playing us would added us. The stations that were playing us on, let's say, feature, would put us into small rotation, and the ones that were in rotation put us into a heavier rotation, and everything kind of shifted, and it really made a big difference to the movement and the life of that single. And then come end of October, November, after those stations, some of the big, what do you call it,
the reporting stations. Yeah. That's radio speak for
that's radio. The reporting stations are the ones that, to explain that
like us, with charting. So we play a song, and then a computer records that we have played that, and it gets on a national chart.
Exactly. So the reporting stations had started to add it up, and then come November, it's like it got a brand new life. And from November, December, January, all the way into February, it stayed in that you know, within the top 10 spot. It was great.
Man, when it hit number 11, we were like our skin was just buzzing. I was like, is it gonna go in? And then I think
dropped down to 12.
It did drop down to 12.
Like, damn it.
So we were wondering, like, does it go back up? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Then it went up, and we were like,
yeah, we got it. We broke the top 10. And it was the first time any of us in any, you know, anyway, our projects had hit top 10, and it was certainly a great feeling. And you know, the radio, the support that we've gotten is what it's all about. Because right now, I mean, we're out here, we're out west, we get a chance to come out. We've done some openers before in this area, but we haven't headlined. So
how does it work? Maybe this is another radio type question, but for those radio people listening, it might interest them. When it comes to radio stations playing your music, how do you make money off of that? Or do you make money off of that? Because I know we give money to SOCAN, and every month I have to report, these are the songs we're playing.
Absolutely.
Is that enough to make money off for
well,
that?
To be honest with you, we only 6 months after you guys file your paperwork is when we actually see the numbers come in, and so we haven't seen it because you don't file your paperwork every month.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's sometimes I think you guys
we do now in 2011 actually.
In 2011,
it's every month.
Okay, but it was quarterly before, I think.
That's right. Yeah.
So quarterly, you have to take into consideration if it's quarterly, that's only 3 months, and then add 6 months. So 9 months later is only when we start seeing any kind of money come in. So we still don't know what, you know, Big Slice is going to be like. I'm curious. I mean, it's not going to be you know, buy a Ferrari kind of money.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I mean, enough to support you guys being musicians.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, you look at the whole ball of wax, hopefully too.
Yeah, right. Take it pieces from all sorts of stuff. Publishing's great, You know, when you can get on, you know, in movies, you can get your songs played and that kind of stuff. You know, publishing royalties and, and that kind of stuff.
And that happened to you guys too. You guys are in Rock'em Sock'em 22 with Don Cherry. How awesome is that?
That's wild, man. It's funny because his son is the one who does the music selection and does a lot of the production for the album, for the DVD, I should say. And on our second album, the second Jonas album, he was turned on to a couple of tracks, and he picked a couple for, I think it was last year's Rock'em Sock'em. And then for this year's, our album wasn't done yet, but he knew we were working on something new, so he was kind of knocking on Todd, our manager's door, saying, listen, you know, can you give me some pre-roll? So we actually sent him some demos of what was going to be on.
Wow.
And he said, okay, I like this one, this one. So as soon as they came out of mastering, they went right to the DVD. And it's cool, man. I mean, you know.
It's like a Canadian icon.
Yeah, we were saying the other day, he's like the rock and roller of hockey.
Yeah.
Know? So it's a good match.
If that was me, I could quit music right now. I've hit the top. I'm on a Don Cherry DVD.
But we still want to get on Guitar Hero. And then we're done.
They stopped making that, eh?
I know. I heard about that, actually. It's too bad.
Yeah.
It's too bad. But I think
sure they'll come back.
Yeah. But they got to retire. They got to do the Brett Favre. You know, but Brett Favre, they retire and come back, retire and come back.
Same for Rock Band?
That's it. For Rock Band?
I think so. I'm not too sure.
Well, they have another thing coming anyways that has real guitars.
Really? Oh, maybe that's why.
That's awesome. And then that'll be a challenge.
What's wrong with real guitars?
That's it.
Well,
because they're harder to play.
It takes time to learn.
You don't need to have 3 buttons and a joystick.
Exactly. Maybe if you could color code that,
exactly.
the rest of us could do it.
Exactly. Or become a bass player. Oh!
Bass players never get the girls.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you haven't been to our shows.
Not knowing yet.
There are some exceptions.
All right. Well, thank you very much, guys, for coming in.
Thanks
really
for having us,
it.
man.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks for giving us some time.
Good luck in all your success.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too.